but wait. Think what you could make that into that you could use around the house.
So today I'm going to show you how to change a tissue box into a nice little storage box. And these are really handy. You can use them to store your supplies or to store snacks. So we're going to convert this tissue box. I'm using 3 simple steps. We're just going to remove the plastic, cut the sides, and glue down the flaps. Anything from that where you want to do embellishments or make this into a gift box or put labels on it, that's all up to you, but it's the 3 little steps, pretty universal for any brand of tissue box. Here are some non-toxic glues to choose from, and with my background in bookmaking, I'm going to share some helpful tips on how to use each one of them. This is water-activated gummed back paper tape. This is completely paper, and if you don't have the paper tape, you can just use glue stick or white school glue and a sheet of paper. This is just an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You can do any color that looks good with the box that you have. And you'll also need a pair of scissors. So our first step here is going to be to remove this plastic film. Now once you remove it, it just might take a little bit of getting used to how the manufacturer glued it down, but once you get to that little edge, you can just kind of follow it around that little glue edge and pull it off. I like to be a little gentle so that we're not ripping too much of the paper off the back. Now this plastic film, you might be able to recycle it with your plastic bags, that kind of thing, and all these little scraps can go into your paper recycling. Our next step is to get some handy dandy scissors, and we're just going to make 4 little simple cuts. You're just going to go to the corner. I wouldn't go all the way to the corner, but it's not anything that you need to do anything too precise here. And then we're just going to fold these down, and you can start to see your box being formed. And then you can use the handle of the scissors to actually burnish that edge down so it wants to form a little bit better. You can see how your box is already started there. So I'm going to show you this first version of how to glue down these flaps with the paper tape. I love the paper tape. It's so useful for all sorts of crafting. You can make labels out of it. I can't say enough about paper tape. It's really fun. So we're going to cut out 2 lengths for the long sides, and then 2 lengths for these short sides. And these don't have to be precise. You can make them just a little bit smaller, or if you make them a little larger, that's fine too. They'll fold right around the edge, right on the inside. No big deal. Now with this paper tape, I use a wet sponge and a little ceramic dish. I like to use a nice heavy ceramic dish so my sponge won't move around too much. And I also like having a little creature looking at me, encouraging me to be creative. So I'm going to get these out of the way here. I like to do the short ends first. So we're just going to wet that with the sponge. So this has a gummed back on one side. You'll see, you can always tell what side has the glue on it because it's a little shinier. And so I just line that up. And you can see it's just a little shorter than the insides. And just push that down. And you have a little give to move this around. I got a little crooked there. You can be nice and neater if you want to be. But I feel like it just looks just quite nice Just a simple edge there. I'm going to do the other short side. So as you can see, I'm pressing that down and then I'm dragging it through the wetness on the sponge there. So we tip this up again, and I'm going to eyeball about the same distance there. And I'm going to fold that down. And if you hold it up like this, you can kind of see where you're at. And you see if it gets a little bit around the edge, you can just fold it into that edge. No big deal, no stress here. We're using things that we already have in the house. You know, I like to get these boxes in colors that are pretty to me, and if I can, I try to get them matching so I get a set for reuse in my studio. So we use these in the kitchen too to store little snacks. They're just really handy. They're perfect size, for perfect end length for fitting on shelves. You know, it's just a lot of design considerations go into the size of these boxes. And so they are already kind of a size that is meant to work with a lot of shelving units out there. So this is really handy. And you can see I've already covered up the logo that was on there, just with a little piece of sort of matching paper. You can put a sticker on it. You can be creative as you want. There's all sorts of options. So this is with the paper tape. Now with paper tape, it does take a little time for that water to kind of absorb into the paper and that glue to just kind of ease into the material. So I just kind of keep on giving it a little press, but then you are done. And the paper tape kind of strengthens up those edges. And because we haven't cut all the way into the corners, we've got a little bit more material holding the corners together. If you cut all the way into the corners, you might want to consider, you know, doing a little gusset on there. But yeah, we got a little box there ready to hold some goodies. Now we'll show you another method, because not everybody has paper tape in their house. So maybe you have a glue stick. Glue sticks are great for all sorts of things, for little repairs around the house. I like all sorts of brands, but I would really like it if they would come out with some way to refill these. That would make them much more useful to me, I think. And we'll buff down those edges again using the handle of the scissors that you have. It'll save on your own fingers a little bit. This just helps that cardboard to fold over more dramatically than it has been, so that's why we do that a little bit. Okay, so instead of the paper tape, we are going to use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of regular paper. I just happen to have some and a little bit of a blue. You can use whatever color paper you have, or you can even use the inside of a paper bag. Just whatever you have around the house, I'm sure you can make it work. What's handy with the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper is, look, it's already cut to the right length for your longest side. So I'm going to cut two lengths of about 2.5 inches, 2 inches. Doesn't matter so much. You're going to have a little bit left over here. So I'm just going to cut 2 lengths of that. We'll mark with the scissors so you don't have to use pencil. And you don't have to have a perfectly straight line, but you know, a little handmade touch on here. And so we're going to cut a third one, same width there. And guess what's going to happen with this third one? This third one, if we cut it in half, see how I measure here? I'm just going to line up those two edges, give it a light fold. See that light fold there? That gives me the center, and then I can just cut it in half. And look at that. That fits just perfectly. It's going to suit our needs here. So we've got our 4 pieces. And then what can we do with this last leftover piece? Well, If you wanted to change this color of your side, you could use it there. Or if you needed to cover over any stuff on the bottom, reinforce the bottom, you can use it there. Or you just have a piece of paper that you can sketch on, use later. So, okay, with the glue stick. Now the thing I've learned about glue stick glue, and then just about any kind of glue out there, is that you need to apply it to both things that you're gluing to have that good strength. So, and with glue paste here, I like to do the edges and then do the inside a little bit loosely. Then I will go back and I will very quickly get a little extra on those edges. And then here, I will put, just sort of slap some on there and then slap a little bit lower on there. Doesn't need to be perfect. Here I'm getting it all over the place. Anyway, here we're going to do the same lineup. Get that piece on there, fold it in, and then you do have a little bit of slippy that you can do to get that nice and lined up. Nice press it down a little bit. I'll angle it here so you can see a little bit better that I am pressing all those little pieces together. Now we're going to flip around, and if you start to see it come loose a little bit, it's just, again, takes a little bit of time for that glue to set. These non-toxic water-based glues, they take just a little bit of time. So here I'm going to glue up the other short end. Got a little debris from my other crafting on there, so I'm getting glue all set up on that. Glue on here, glue under the flap, and a little bit down. You know, it can be kind of generous. Set that aside. Line that up, eyeball it about the same as the other one. Wants to slip a little bit on that side. Okay, just press that down a little bit there. And I just go back and I just kind of see if there's anywhere that I missed. A lot of times it's really easy to miss in these corners. They just don't seem, well, they seem to dry out on me really quickly. So I just put a little bit more glue on there, maybe a little bit of glue on that side, and repress that down. Cover that. And sometimes all it is pressing it. So on this longer piece, I am going to put some glue onto that flap that's going to flap down, and on the other side. And what I'm trying to do is eyeball and not put my glue further down than the width of these. Because I put that on thick, it will take a little bit longer to dry. Roll out a little bit more. I always like to go out towards my edges. Don't crinkle up my paper. And I try not to get as much glue on my own hands. Get those corners, a little extra on those corners, a little extra on that edges there. Last part is right here on this lip. Line that up. And you can see I always press from the center going out. That'll work the bubbles out. Any kind of sort of folds that might want to be happening on their own. And you just press that down. Then we can go on to the other one. Get that glue on there. Alright. And if on your glue stick you get a little bit of this extra glue coming out the edge, I just kind of wipe that, and then you can use the glue stick to spread it out. Those little clumps, they will not just flatten out on their own. You'll need to spread those out. They'll just make kind of little bubbles. And I'm working fast here because glue sticks, this glue paste will just dry very, very quickly. Again, I'm going to put a little edge on here. Eyeball again, centering that. You can see that out from the center. And I'm using that table to push against, sort of burnishing it down. And go and check. Seems like right at the edge where that flap is where it will want to pull up. Get a little, if you work quickly, you can pull that up. If you want to get really fancy, you could cut yourself some of your leftover and put it right into these corners. In fact, I think I'm going to do that just so you can see how nicely that will finish it off. 2-inch height. And then I'm going to just cut 4 approximately equal parts off of. They don't have to be perfect. To get these to sit into the corners, you're going to want to fold them in half. Fold them in half. I'm going to fold all of these in half. And this will help them to sit into the corner. And because I'm not going to be able to get the glue stick into the corners, I'm just going to be real generous with it. So you have that nice fold. You can line that fold up into that corner. And I am going to line that up with the top edge. Again, the glue is not instant. Paper needs a little bit of time to absorb it. And pressure, always. The best thing to do for nearly all glues out there is to give it some pressure. And that will just make sure that the glue really forms like a suction between it and the surface you're gluing to. And we'll just continue that on the other 2 corners. Now I'll probably skip ahead. And there you have it. Nice little storage box from a tissue box with using a glue stick and a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper. Just one sheet. So in this third method I'm going to show you, so we're going to use some white school glue and we're going to use a little paper bag. This is a great reuse of it. It can be a little bit heavier paper to use with this more liquidy glue. I'm going to show you how to use this glue so that it won't be such a long drying process. So I am going to cut apart this bag. I'm going to cut along one of the folds, other fold, and that up. And then if you have printing on one side, you can just use the inside. You see this size? It's a really nice length for, you can cut off any of the rough edges. So I'm going to cut off that fold. No matter how much you press, you're not going to be able to get that fold out. And small pieces like this, for recycling purposes, I do save these bags, the paper bags, and I put all these small pieces of paper into a paper bag so that your recycler can actually recapture those little pieces. We're going to again cut out those 2.5 inch long strips. So they're going to be for our long sides, piece for our recycler, or if you make your own paper, those scraps are great. All of this that we can work with, we can either do 2 boxes with this, or we can just, it can be nice craft paper. So you can see I like to work by cutting long strips and then cutting my parts out of those strips so that parts are all the same width. Look, we've repurposed it before recycling it, so it's gotten another life before being made into something else. I'm going to show you on this style. You can still gently pull. If you find it easier to go at a corner, just get that. It's just a single line of glue and you just got to find where that is. And follow it all the way around. And that might be recyclable with your the film recycling projects that are going on across the country. Again, this is a different shape than what we did last time, but still you can just go from the corner. It's going to be a different flap shape, but that is just totally fine. Still will work. And it's a nice guide for you. Let's fold those in. You can see that's going to be much longer on the sides. So you can either cut that away or you can just put your glue lower on there. And again, I will start out with the sides. Oh, and this is very important for this glue, since it does take a bit longer to dry, is to burnish down those edges, handle the scissors, and careful when you're grabbing the scissors from the wrong direction. You don't want to be holding it where you're going to cut into your hand. Okay, so now those are burnished. I'm going to just zigzag out a bit here. I'm going to set it on the side. So now one of these little pieces I'm going to make into basically just a little brush for us to spread that glue. So basically we're making it into glue paste. Brush it out to those edges. Careful, the edges might curl. So I am going to set that aside, and I'm going to do my other one as well. So I'm going to zigzag and use our little scrap of paper. And the reason why I'm using these types of glues is that these will be, once you're done with this storage box, maybe it's worn out, that it can go straight into the recycling. If you're going to use something like hot melt glue, then you have to pull that hot melt glue out of there because it can't go into the recycling like that. But with these glues, it can. So now, oh, look at that. We're going to do a little repair here. So this is starting to come loose here. I'm going to zigzag some glue there, and then also forget to get all the way out to as far as your pieces are wide. So now we're spreading that glue, and it's so much easier for glue to stick to glue than glue to stick to a dry surface. If you've ever done some gluing and you try to get this kind of glue to stick to a dry surface, you know what I'm talking about. So you see how that just wants to stay down. And now this is a slick surface, so you might be able to get away with not putting extra glue down. But I'm just going to be a little safe here and stick to my methodology. Now that this big long flap is down, it's a little trickier to get it in place, but with the wet glue you can slide it around a little bit. Paper brush. This just saves it from getting all over your fingers, so your fingers can stay kind of glue free, mostly glue free, so you can pick up stuff. And I like the paper bag. It's a very available craft paper out there, so you don't have to go to the craft store and buy especially expensive craft paper. You can just use a paper bag. Zigzag that on there. So yeah, the print bag. Nobody needs to see that. You always have to remember the inside of a bag is just a clean sheet of paper. Just ready for all sorts of craft projects. Open that flap up, and these little flaps of paper, that's just going to be just fine. See how they'll just absorb the glue and re-glue themselves down. You see, when you're gluing glue to glue, it just likes to stick almost instantly. I line that up, and especially on this, very important to start from the center and push out. And anything extra will just wrap around the corner. There's always those little edges there. They just need a little pressure. And our little paper brush is just about down to its nubbins. So we are almost done with the project here. Press down that flap. Pre-glued piece. Once that flap comes up, you can just use it. And then I do like using the side of my hands and swiping out. Doesn't always work. Look, I got a little fold there, but I think if I pull that up, I'm gonna rip it, so I'm just gonna smush and burnish it down. Pretend it didn't happen. It's on the inside. Gonna have fun things in these. You'll be looking at the fun things, not the inside of the box. And there you have it. And that's how you get this glue to work very quickly. Spread it thin, spread it with a little homemade paper brush. You don't have to have a brush. And you always put glue on both sides. That helps it to adhere to itself much more quickly. Well, I hope you like this little activity and repurposing our fun little boxes. I used 3 different non-toxic processes to make these boxes, and hopefully something that you have at home. Once you're finished with them, they can be put into the recycle bin as is. And if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like it. Oh, and I also thought I'd share with you that I do reuse tissue boxes, at least the ones that I think are pretty, for my studio gloves. So I do use gloves for dyeing and for other kind of processes in my studio. And I just like looking at this a lot more than the original box that the gloves came in. So the gloves are non-sterile already, so I just transfer the gloves into the tissue box. I take out the little plastic thing, so there's more room for them to take them out. But it's a nice reuse of a pretty container. Yeah, this channel, I like to put all sorts of reusable, repurposed materials, things that are readily available, so that you're not having to go out to the store and buy something special. I like having things that are repurposed and serve many, many different purposes in my life. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, happy and safe crafting, and see you next time.